Welcome to Fintech Founders, the podcast where we sit down and speak with the entrepreneurs changing the financial industry. In each episode, you'll learn about a founder, the company they built, and their vision for the future. My name's Nicholas Beliveau, your host for the show and the head of marketing at Fintech Cadence. Fintech Cadence is a community builder that's developing Canada's fintech leaders of tomorrow. To learn more about what we do, visit fintechcadence.com. Hello and welcome to today's episode. Today I have the pleasure of being joined by Mr. Scott Satov, founder and president of Loans Canada. How's it going, Scott?
Hey, Nick. Thanks for having me. Very excited to be here. It's great.
Excited to have you. And to kick things off, how we usually do it is you tell us a bit about your company. So could you just explain briefly what Loans Canada is all about?
Yeah, sure. Loans Canada is the original loan comparison and credit education platform in Canada. We've been operating since 2010. And to date, I've served almost 1 million people. So we're very excited about that.
And you've been in the space for quite some time.
Yes, thank you. Since 2007, I would say. I'm one of the founders of VersaPay, which is now VersaBank, and that went public in 2010. So after that is when I started Loans Canada.
So let's maybe go chronologically, and we could start with VersaPay to share your experience building that company and all the ins and outs when fintech really wasn't a thing, when people didn't really know about it.
Right. So actually, there was a lot of trouble starting VersaPay. It started as Western Acceptance Corporation in Vancouver. Some guys reached out to me. They wanted me to be the CFO. I liked the guys. I wasn't so sold on the payment processing industry, to be exact, but I saw some people were doing in Canada. There was a big market untouched by the banks. They didn't do it well. There was only Moneris. So I joined in 2007. We were a Chase Payment Tech ISO. And I got to tell you, it was very easy to get merchants. People were unhappy with their banking partners. Moneris is owned by a bank. And we really got a lot of traction. And then, point of sale systems are really an intro to the whole financial backbone of the system, processing payments. In 2010, the company went public, and most of the founders left, as did I. And I was sort of looking around, not sure what to do. And I started buying mortgage websites. And the model back then, this was before Rate Hub. The model was to basically attract people to your site so they apply for a mortgage. And you'd bring the application to a bank. I did that between 2010 and 2012. I actually launched a brokerage firm in Toronto on One Young. I had a principal broker involved. I'm a chartered accountant by trade, but I'm also a mortgage broker. I became a mortgage broker to fulfill those applications. And I got to tell you, we thought it was a failure as I got a lot of people visiting the site, using our rates, but then going back to their bank and actually applying there. So there was nothing for us to monetize at that point. Or if they did apply, they weren't creditworthy. So we found ourselves saying, how do we get people's attention? What is the real niche market? And we changed our brand. I remember Chris, my partner, it was July 1, 2012. We said, we're changing brands. We bought loanscanada.ca, which was a URL. It wasn't that expensive. And we launched personal loans. We were the first ones to do it in Canada, and there was instant traction. Like right away, applications started flying in. And we weren't sure what to do with them. I actually started issuing loans myself from 2012 through 2016. And so in the early days, there wasn't very many lenders in the market. That was the problem. There was banks, but they didn't want to do these type of loans. So on the subprime side, GoEasy just got started.
What's GoEasy? I'm not familiar with them.
Oh, GoEasy is the second biggest subprime lender in the country. There's Fairstone and GoEasy.
Gotcha.
We started dealing with GoEasy, and then more and more between 2012 and 2016, lenders actually came into the market that wanted our applications, wanted our information. And in 2016, we actually drew a lot of attention from Capital One, and we became a publisher, which was hard to get. It took us a while for their prepaid secured Visa. And from then on, Chris and I made a decision, the other co-founder, we made a decision that it's conflict of interest to be issuing loans and referring loans. So we killed the loan business, the actual issuance of the loans, the origination, and we just focused on marketing. And I mean, since then, it's just uphill. I mean, it's been a challenge, but a lot of volume and just every day more partners coming in the market and growth. So we're very excited about it.
From the get-go, how did a CFO exiting a company decide to launch a website, a tech startup essentially?
Sure. It's actually a bit of a story. I was acting as CFO for a medical startup company after. Was not excited about the company, but my friends were involved and guys that I liked. And the guy next to me was in search engine. And he was telling me, listen, I have this website, Mortgages Canada. Mortgages Canada, maybe you want to buy it. Show me applications coming in. I knew the bit about the fintech space. I thought it was a future. There was LendingTree in its infancy in the US. And I bought it. And then from there, it was just, getting into the right product, a big pivot, which was huge, to pivot into personal loans.
Sure.
I mean, when I started personal loans, people didn't want to issue a personal loan in Canada.
Well, and since it's so new as well, doing it online, I guess there was a huge amount of mistrust.
This is before Flinks, before these bank scraping tools, before, credit scores were readily available. So it was really early in its infancy. And, I got burnt a lot, learned a lot. And, but all these things allowed me to learn a lot of things and realize that we're very good at the marketing for personal loans and how hungry Canadians are for information and credit education.
So on those learnings, do you remember any moments specifically that taught you a lot when you were launching this first company?
Yeah, sure. First of all, the data that was readily available, that I was getting for free, I knew there was a lot of value there because people wanted something. They wanted a loan, so they're willing to give their financial data. And I was realizing how valuable that data is. And also that, the individual consumer doesn't really know what's out there. He's sort of shielded. And the internet brought a lot of that together. Also, my business wouldn't be possible without the internet. I mean, I can take down 1,000 applications in a day. Imagine in a bank, if 1,000 people complete an application, that means there's like 3,000 people in your bank. Every second, a guy writing out with paper and asking questions. So the internet is perfect medium for that. To take down the information, try to process it, and streamline the process.
So a lot of the times people are intimidated by fintech because it's a big, vast word, and you don't know if you have to know finance or you have to know technology or if it's a mix of both. You're coming from a pure tech background, but what's interesting in your story, you knew somebody from the get-go who was in search engine, which back then was probably the hottest technology at the time. And that's how did you make that teamwork work?
Sure. Well, I feel like VersaPay was the training ground for fintech. When we were building we had all these technology people behind us and our competitors didn't. They were on the street selling a POS system, but we were offering other things, online login, online boarding. And then we also were analyzing some of the data as well. So that's when I realized, holy cow, this fintech is here to stay. The banks don't do it well. They're not interested. They're more of a custodian of assets. They're almost a monopoly, so they don't really have to serve the client as well, and there's just a big opportunity.
So now looking forward with all the experience you have, and I want to dive in more about Loans Canada, where it's at today. Sure. And where you see it going. But just based off your experience in the space, where do you see now the most opportunity? Since you're a trailblazer in the mortgage space and then online lending space, where do you think are the biggest weak points today for other entrepreneurs where there's a lot of room for innovation?
Sure. So, I continuously see the banks trying to get into the fintech space, trying to partner with young companies. I would say that any partnership with a bank is very valuable. They have resources, obviously, they have capital, they have know-how. So the ability to partner with a bank or to get noticed by a bank or financial institution and FI is very critical. and to focus on areas that the banks don't do well. The other important thing is that what's exciting about fintech is that I think that completing the transaction online for any internet business is crucial. What I'm saying is that I issue a loan. Well, I don't issue the loan, but I package the loan and the transaction's done. I send it to the bank or lender. But selling something that you have to receive, send out by mail, is a harder business than something that you can complete the transaction. And the first guys that were doing it online were the gamblers, the gaming business, the porn business. People were able to buy something, want something, close the transaction online, and those are the guys that did well. And I think it's evolved now into the other fintech players. So trying to be able to control the whole process on your own, basically.
Okay. And then then back to your company itself. Loans historically have been a business that is considered maybe from in the wrong eye. It's you're making money off of people. What's the role today of a lender to be able to change that perception?
Sure.
Because with the vast amount of information people have today, they're able to make more decisions. But at the same time, people in Canada, the lowest 20% of income earners are going in debt by the amount of up to $30,000 a year. And in a way, not saying you're doing that by yourself, it's a team effort, but loans are driving that debt crisis, so to speak. So
Sure.
What role does a lender have today in 2020 to try to mitigate this problem?
Right. I think that's a good question. You're right. I mean, in the day, a personal loan was something between your buddy and his friend. I know a guy, and the guy used to show up at your house. And if there was intimidation, if you didn't pay him back, the banks would not do it. So, and a lot of the people that were asking them didn't have credit history as well. Their businesses were under the table or whatever. So it's sort of a shady industry. And things have changed quite a bit because now all the information is available on people. You can pull their credit, you can see their history, you can pull their banking data down. So the information is available to the lender, and for the consumer, the credit education is so important. So the financial education that's around getting a loan, reading reviews, seeing the fees that are really involved with the loan is very important. So I would say financial literacy is the key to all this. I agree there's definitely a problem with debt in Canada, for sure. We offer debt solutions as well, and that's a big part of it. We don't want to offer a loan to someone who can't afford to pay it back. We'd rather try to help them with debt. We think that's better servicing the public.
And how do you convey that message?
We write a lot about debt consolidation. We partner with a lot of debt consolidation companies. We offer debt calculators. We know financial literacy, again, telling people how can they afford this and how they're going to make their payments and budgeting as well.
For moving forward, do you think loans will always have the same role they have today, considering, I'll rephrase my question. With open banking, we're going to have more and more access to information on the user itself.
Right.
Today, we're using historical information. For a mortgage, let's say, you have to send tons of documentation to the lender or to the mortgage broker to be able to then get approved. And this is all historical information. With open banking, do you see any other opportunities for entrepreneurs or even for Loans Canada itself to be able to leverage that access to data?
100%. I mean, the data is everything. The fact that it's, open banking brings more data to the fingertips of many different people is very important. And I just think that as the consumer gets more intelligent about his finances, he'll be able to make smarter choices, and he's going to realize that if he takes on this debt, it might be too much. So open banking will definitely bring a lot of changes in the future, positive changes. And I think the sharing of data is good for everyone. I don't think it's bad. I think if someone is in a crisis situation, they shouldn't hide it. And if the bank knows about it and the consumer, and it's all out on the table, that's a way for to deal with the problem rather than shoo it under the rug.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think the last part I really want to dive into, considering you have such experience in the space, is really the tips for other founders.
Right.
You having Now, what's the size of the team of Loans Canada today?
7. I mean, we're about 7 people.
Okay. So with your experience in the space, what are maybe some key takeaways you would want to share with other founders that really helped you, be the founder that you are today, to be able to manage a team through evolving technological tides and upcoming new regulations?
Right.
You've seen a lot of changes in the industry. If it's just a SEO play today, that would probably work less well than it did 10 years ago.
Sure.
What are some of the biggest lessons you've had?
Sure. So I think the industry that you choose is important. Industries that are going through change and you see a technological revolution coming is going to allow for a lot of startups to get their, brand in the door and get their share of the market. Hard work, there's no alternative to hard work, dedication, building your brand from the start, never giving up. The right people is also so critical. I mean, I couldn't have done it without Chris Ravizano, my partner. He's the tech guy. I'm not as techie as he is. So we met each other. We liked each other. It was a big part of it. And, I pivoted. I pivoted into mortgages. I couldn't make it work. It was a huge decision, and even today, there's companies that made the mortgage work. There's RateHub, there's Nesto, other companies that are doing well. So I look back and I was 7 years ahead of them.
How did you make that decision to pivot?
Sure. Chris and I just said we weren't getting anywhere. There was no one offering a personal loan on the internet in Canada with a real brand in 2012. There just wasn't. And instantly you realize when you posted an article and you posted an application page, that applications started flying in. I mean, I was in the mortgage business for 2 years and I might get 3 mortgage applications a day. The first day I launched Loans Canada, I had 5 applications. And today I can get 1,000 applications coming in online. So I was in the right time, right industry, some luck, the right space, hard work because I didn't give up. And I was lucky too because it was a business that wasn't capital intensive. I was sick of raising money at that point. I didn't want to start going on the bandwagon looking for cash. And I was lucky too because I didn't need to raise money. So that allowed me, instead of focusing on fundraising, to focus on building the business. That's like another person because it's a full-time job. So all those things went into it, and we got lucky a lot. So we're pretty blessed, and we're very excited to be here today.
Well, you make your own luck after all, right? With a mix of hard work and
sure,
a smart
I guess
team.
You can say that. Thanks.
Okay, now my very last question. Out
Sure.
of the loan space, what are some fintech startups in Canada or abroad that you're really impressed by? Like some of your favorite fintech companies?
So, this Flinks thing. This Flinks
thing.
Yeah. So first of all, I've been doing bank scraping now for 6 years.
Yeah.
So it wasn't new to me. I used to deal with microbuild.
Microbuild?
Yeah.
What is that?
So they were before Flinks. They're from the US.
Okay.
And
before Played as well, I guess.
Yeah. And the guy was in Georgia and he was doing it in America. I met him at a show, Sean Burgess. He had a good company and I was blown away by the technology. But Flinks came in later and I'm like, how are they going to, what's so great? It's out there, etc. But they obviously, and even banks have the same data as well. It's like the banks could have done that. But I guess the lesson here is that the banks didn't want to manipulate the data or provide that data easily to third parties. And the data is so valuable, I guess. They're data mining like crazy. And I'm impressed with them. I think with the Played exit, they're really going to go far.
Okay, cool. Anybody on the international stage that you're rooting for?
On the international stage, I deal with some companies in the U.S. that are in the debt consolidation phase. They're killing it now. America has a problem, and they're using technology. And again, it's an old type of industry that they're revolutionizing with search. So debt consolidation, helping people with debt and managing their finances is something that's not going to go away, and providing the tools.
Yeah, PFM and just wealth tech in general.
Sure.
To be able to, first, step 1, get out of debt.
Right.
Step 2, build on that wealth to be able to prosper.
Yeah, and understanding your situation and budgeting tools. So I see a lot of value in that. And again, like I said, I was very impressed with Plaid. That's so crazy valuation. So
Do you think it's, I said it was my last question, but here's my real last question. Do you think it's going to be a mix of different companies that will win, or it's going to be one that'll rule them all, that's able to consolidate all these services, i.e. a Revolut that has the budgeting, that has the roundup tool, that has the et cetera, et cetera?
No, you know what? I think there's going to be a lot of winners. There's going to be roll-ups. There's going to be smaller companies that medium-sized companies need on the way up. And I agree there's going to be some massive ones that are eating up from the bank. But you'd think if they're eating up the bank's market cap, the market cap of the bank would suffer, but it's not. So there's that extra room. There's that extra place in the field that people want to have a part of that whole fintech financial industry. And it's sort of like the combination of the two is greater the sum of the two parts.
Okay, neat. Well, thanks so much for joining us. Did you have any last words you want to share if people want to follow you guys or check you out? How could they do that?
Yeah, sure. So loanscanada.ca. We're the biggest in Canada. We've been doing it the longest. We have the best products in Canada. We have an affiliate program that we launched in 2019, allowing smaller companies to leverage off our platform. So, a lot of people started trying to be a lender. They're getting applications. They couldn't make it, and now they send me all their volume. So maybe there's companies out there that are having trouble making it work, but maybe there's an alternative as a marketing platform. So I'll reach out to us, and hopefully we can help them.
Scott, thanks so much for being on the show.
Nicholas.
Really appreciate it. And thank you all for tuning in. Have a good one.